McLean Stevenson, born Edgar McLean Stevenson Jr., entered the world on November 14, 1927, in Normal, Illinois, a small city next to Bloomington. His family was both prominent and ambitious, carrying the weight of history, politics, and professional achievement. Stevenson's father was a respected local heart doctor, while his mother worked as a nurse, reflecting a family grounded in care and responsibility. Even his name hinted at legacy. McLean came from his grandmother, Lahi McLean, and it echoed the region he grew up in, McLean County. From a young age, Stevenson was surrounded by stories of politics and influence. He was related to one of Illinois' most famous political families. His great-grandfather was William Stevenson, brother of Vice President Adlai E. Stevenson I, who served under President Grover Cleveland in the 1890s. This lineage connected him directly to Adlai E. Stevenson II, who twice ran for president against Dwight D. Eisenhower and later became the United States ambassador to the United Nations under President John F. Kennedy. The Stevenson family lived next door to this influential branch, so McLean grew up in close proximity to both privilege and expectation. Politics and public life were not abstract ideas. They were part of his everyday environment. From the outset, Stevenson's life was shaped by legacy, the pressure to succeed, and the awareness that public service and recognition were part of his family's DNA. Yet, even with these roots in history, Stevenson's path would not follow a straight or predictable line. His early years reflected ambition and curiosity, and though he began in a family of professionals, he eventually gravitated toward performance, which would define his adult life. Stevenson's education laid the foundation for his diverse pursuits. He attended Bloomington High School and then Lake Forest Academy, a well-regarded prep school in Illinois, before briefly enrolling at Illinois Wesleyan University and later the University of New Mexico. Though his studies were varied and at times fragmented, they reflected a young man exploring multiple possibilities. The Navy soon became part of his story. From January 1946 to November 1947, Stevenson served as a hospital corpsman, a role that harmonized with his family's medical tradition. This experience was not only practical but symbolic, foreshadowing his later television career as the beloved doctor figure Henry Blake on MAS*H. Following military service, Stevenson leaned more seriously into performance, enrolling in Northwestern University's School of Speech in 1949. He graduated in 1952 with a degree in theater arts, joining fraternities and participating in school performances under the name Ed Stevenson. Even during this period, his life was far from linear. Stevenson described this time as 9 jobs in 8 years, working as a radio announcer, a television clown, an insurance salesman, and even as an assistant athletic director at Northwestern. Simultaneously, politics continued to pull him back, and he worked on presidential campaigns for his cousin Adlai, contributing to organizing the Young Democrats. By the early 1960s, Stevenson's life had been a mosaic of experiences: medicine, politics, education, and early performance. But he had yet to find the stage where he truly belonged. The 1960s marked a turning point in Stevenson's career, thanks in part to family connections. At a social gathering in New York, he met influential figures from the entertainment industry, including director Gower Champion and acting teacher Sanford Meisner. This introduction nudged him toward show business at the age of 33, already late by Hollywood standards, but his maturity became an asset rather than a limitation. Stevenson approached acting with dedication, winning a scholarship to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy and studying with renowned instructors, including Lee Strasberg and Meisner. He performed summer stock theater, appeared in comedy reviews, and worked at the Upstairs at the Downstairs, a New York comedy club that launched many careers. His initial success was not in front of the camera but as a writer, contributing to shows like That Was the Week That Was, where he first connected professionally with Alan Alda. He also wrote for the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour and The Glenn Campbell Show, gradually building a foundation in television that would serve him well when acting opportunities arose. By the late 1960s, Stevenson began guest roles on popular shows such as Naked City, The Defenders, and Car 54, Where Are You?, along with commercials for companies like Kellogg's, Ford, and Winston Cigarettes. This steady work helped him develop confidence and experience, preparing him for a breakthrough role. Stevenson's pre-MASH career included a notable role on The Doris Day Show, where he played magazine editor Michael Nicholson across 49 episodes. While this role seemed promising, it lacked satisfaction. His character's presence diminished over time, highlighting the importance of chemistry and audience connection in television. Fortunately, these experiences led him to his iconic role as Henry Blake in MASH. Casting director Eddie Foy III noticed Stevenson in the TV film Mr. and Mrs. Bo-Jo Jones and recommended him to MASH producer Gene Reynolds. Originally auditioning for Hawkeye Pierce, Stevenson was considered too old for the role, a blessing in disguise. He instead embodied Henry Blake, the middle-aged, slightly weary but warm-hearted commander of the 4077th, whose humanity and humor made him instantly beloved. Blake was not a heroic figure but a relatable man navigating chaos, fishing, and everyday frustrations, and Stevenson's improvisational style brought authenticity to the character. He contributed creatively behind the scenes, writing the trial of Henry Blake and devising storylines like the Army-Navy football game, earning an Emmy nomination for comedy writing. His performance won a 1974 Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor and 4 Emmy nominations during his 3 seasons on MASH. The success of MASH, however, did not guarantee personal satisfaction. As Alan Alda's role grew central to the show, Stevenson felt increasingly marginalized. Scenes were cut, focus shifted, and studio negotiations further fueled discontent, as he was denied raises equivalent to his peers. Meanwhile, NBC approached him with a potentially career-defining opportunity, his own show and the chance to guest host The Tonight Show, possibly positioning him as a future host following Johnny Carson. For a man feeling overlooked, this offer was hard to refuse. Consequently, Stevenson made the fateful decision to leave MASH, setting in motion a period of professional struggle. His departure was commemorated on the show's Season 3 finale, where Henry Blake received a heartfelt farewell, departing by helicopter. However, the hidden final script page revealed Blake's plane had been shot down, killing him, a shocking revelation that stunned both cast and viewers. The decision marked a turning point for MAS*H, bringing unprecedented emotional depth to a network comedy and reflecting the show's commitment to portraying the realities of war. Leaving MASH, however, proved to be Stevenson's greatest professional gamble. Promises of stardom through his own shows rarely materialized. NBC produced multiple sitcoms around him, including The McLean Stevenson Show and Hello, Larry, but each project failed commercially and critically. In Hello, Larry, he played a Portland radio host raising 2 teenage daughters, yet audiences and critics struggled to accept him in roles so far removed from the warm, bumbling Henry Blake. Johnny Carson publicly mocked the show, and TV Guide later listed it among the worst series of all time. Even when shows lasted longer than a season, the audience's association with Henry Blake remained so strong that Stevenson's attempts to break away from that persona were often met with resistance. Each failed project underscored the contrast between his MASH success and the harsh realities of post-MASH Hollywood. By the time his final network sitcom, Condo, aired on ABC in 1983, the pattern was complete. 3 major networks had all tried and failed to turn McLean Stevenson into a leading star in the same way he had thrived in an ensemble. Critics pointed out the inevitable mismatch. The warmth audiences loved in Henry Blake did not translate to cynical or mean-spirited roles, and the timing compounded the frustration as MASH continued to thrive without him. Despite these setbacks, Stevenson's story remains a cautionary tale and a testament to the complexity of fame in Hollywood. He achieved what few actors ever do, becoming the heart of one of television's most beloved series, bringing laughter and empathy to millions. Yet his post-MASH struggles highlight the unpredictable nature of career decisions, even for highly talented performers. Years later, Stevenson's son finally spoke publicly about his father's decision, revealing the emotional cost behind leaving the show. The regret, as it turns out, was not for leaving MASH itself, but for the unforeseen consequences that followed, including professional disappointments and the challenge of redefining his public image. McLean Stevenson's life, From small-town Illinois to television stardom and beyond, illustrates both the triumphs and heartbreaks of pursuing one's dreams and navigating the mercurial world of entertainment. It is a story of ambition, talent, courage, and the human cost of chasing opportunity, timeless lessons for anyone seeking success on their own terms. McLean Stevenson, born Edgar McLean Stevenson Jr., entered the world on November 14, 1927 in Normal, Illinois, a quiet town adjacent to Bloomington. From the very beginning, his life was shaped by history, family, and expectation. His father, a respected cardiologist, and his mother, a dedicated nurse, gave him a childhood rooted in care, responsibility, and professional ambition. Even his name carried significance. McLean came from his grandmother, Lochie McLean, echoing the county in which he was born. But Stevenson's story was not just about a name or family pride. It was about the weight of lineage. He grew up surrounded by political influence, with his great-grandfather being William Stevenson, brother to Vice President Adlai E. Stevenson I, and a direct family connection to Adlai E. Stevenson II, who ran for president twice and later became the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Living literally next door to political power, Stevenson saw from an early age the influence, ambition, and public life that his family had embraced. Yet, even surrounded by such history, Stevenson's own path was never meant to mirror politics or medicine. From childhood, he displayed curiosity, humor, and a creative energy that would ultimately shape his career. Stevenson's education reflected both privilege and exploration. He attended Bloomington High School and later Lake Forest Academy, a prestigious preparatory school. Afterward, he enrolled briefly at Illinois Wesleyan University and the University of New Mexico, seemingly searching for direction. His trajectory took another turn when he served as a hospital corpsman in the Navy from January 1946 to November 1947. While practical and in line with family expectations, this role also symbolically foreshadowed his future as a television doctor in the beloved series MAS*H. Following military service, Stevenson pursued performance seriously, enrolling in Northwestern University's School of Speech in 1949. He graduated in 1952 with a degree in theater arts, joining fraternities and participating in campus productions under the name Ed Stevenson. Even in these early years, Stevenson's life was unpredictable, filled with multiple jobs that included radio announcing, performing as a clown, selling insurance and medical supplies, and working as assistant athletic director at Northwestern. Politics remained a constant pull, as he contributed to his cousin Adlai's presidential campaigns and helped organize the Young Democrats. This period of his life, though fragmented, was formative, giving Stevenson experience, resilience, and the ability to navigate multiple worlds, skills that would later serve him well in Hollywood. The 1960s brought a pivotal shift in Stevenson's life through family connections. A social gathering in New York introduced him to entertainment figures like Gower Champion and Sanford Meisner. At 33, already considered late for a Hollywood career, Stevenson made a conscious choice to enter show business. His dedication was immediate. He won a scholarship to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, studied with Lee Strasberg and Meisner, and immersed himself in theater and comedy clubs. He also found work as a writer for satirical shows such as That Was the Week That Was and the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, giving him a deep understanding of television production from behind the camera. Guest appearances on shows like Naked City, The Defenders, and Car 54, Where Are You?, along with commercial work for Kellogg's, Ford, and Winston, rounded out his early television experience. These roles, though small, allowed Stevenson to develop both his comedic timing and dramatic sensibilities. Stevenson's path to iconic status, however, was paved with challenges. On The Doris Day Show, he played magazine editor Michael Nicholson for 49 episodes, yet the role offered limited satisfaction. It lacked chemistry and failed to give him the depth he craved. But these experiences prepared him for the part that would define his career. Henry Blake on MAS*H, casting director Eddie Foy III noticed Stevenson in the TV movie Mr. and Mrs. Bo-Jo Jones and recommended him to Gene Reynolds, the producer of the then-new series. Initially, Stevenson auditioned for Hawkeye Pierce, but at 44, he was deemed too old for the role. The result was fortuitous. Stevenson became Henry Blake, the relaxed, slightly distracted, but deeply human commander of the 4077th. Unlike the archetypal TV military leader, Blake was approachable, humorous, and profoundly relatable. Stevenson's performance was improvisational, warm, and generous to his co-stars, creating one of television's most memorable and beloved characters. He also contributed to writing episodes, including the trial of Henry Blake, and devised storylines such as the Army-Navy football game, earning an Emmy nomination for comedy writing. Recognition followed, a 1974 Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor and 4 Emmy nominations during his 3 seasons on the show. While MASH was a professional triumph, it was not a personal paradise. Alan Alda's rise as the show's central figure left Stevenson feeling increasingly peripheral. Scenes were cut, focus shifted, and studio negotiations highlighted inequities, including smaller raises compared to other actors. During this period, NBC approached him with an enticing offer, his own show and the possibility of guest hosting The Tonight Show, which could eventually position him as Johnny Carson's successor. Feeling overlooked and undervalued, Stevenson made the fateful decision to leave MASH. His departure was marked by the memorable Season 3 finale in March 1975. Henry Blake's helicopter farewell seemed a gentle goodbye, yet a hidden final script page revealed a dramatic twist. Blake's plane had been shot down over the Sea of Japan, with no survivors. The scene, kept secret from all but Alan Alda, shocked the cast and viewers alike, marking one of television's most emotional moments. The decision was widely praised as bold storytelling, emphasizing the harsh realities of war and giving MAS*H unprecedented dramatic power. Stevenson's post-MASH career, however, became a cautionary tale about fame and timing. NBC produced multiple projects around him, beginning with a variety special in November 1975, followed by The McLean Stevenson Show, in the beginning Hello, Larry, and eventually Condo. Each show, despite his talent, struggled with poor writing, mismatched roles, and audience expectations. Critics often compared these shows unfavorably to MASH, and Johnny Carson occasionally mocked the productions on national television. The public's association of Stevenson with Henry Blake proved difficult to overcome. Audiences loved his warmth and humor in one role, but rejected his portrayals of sarcastic, bitter, or mean-spirited characters. Timing compounded the struggle. All of these shows aired while MASH continued to thrive, highlighting the stark contrast between Stevenson's post-MASH projects and the enduring success of the ensemble he had left behind. Despite repeated setbacks, Stevenson's story is not one of failure alone. It is a story of bold choices, human complexity, and the risks inherent in pursuing new opportunities. He became part of television history, creating a character whose humanity, humor, and relatability remain unforgettable. Years later, his son spoke publicly about Stevenson's regrets, revealing that the real cost of leaving MAS*H was not a lack of ambition but the unexpected professional challenges that followed. This acknowledgement adds a layer of poignancy to Stevenson's life. Even in triumph, there were difficult consequences to decisions made in pursuit of growth. His journey, from small-town Illinois, through politics and theater, to television stardom, and finally the trials of navigating Hollywood after a defining role, reflects the unpredictable, often unforgiving nature of fame. It teaches lessons about risk, resilience, and the human side of pursuing a dream, reminding viewers that success often comes with both reward and sacrifice. Even though McLean Stevenson's post-MASH career was marked by disappointment, his influence on television remains significant.